Hi guys, Ray here from City Fan TV, doing an early update for you today. We're going to talk about whatever news out there, but the big news for City right now is that our owners, the City Football Group, have purchased a new club in Belgium, and that's called Lommel SK. So that's going to be the main initial talking point today. We're going to talk about Lommel SK and the City Football Group in general. I've obviously talked about this many, many times. And we're getting to the stage now where the City Football Group, the owners of Man City, have got investments in so many clubs all around the world that it's getting difficult to even count all the investments that City have got. Hi, Chris. Hope you're well, mate. Hope you're very well. So I'm going to get into this straight away. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the City Football Group without going into too much detail. But the City, well, look, Man City were taken over by Sheikh Mansour from one of the royals from Abu Dhabi back in 2008, I think it was. Okay, hi, Faris. Hope you're well. And so obviously a lot of money's been pumped in, and there's been a massive overhaul of East Manchester, training academy and everything that we've done, the women's football and all the stuff we've won. Hi, Chris, hope you're well. And all the stuff we've won, a lot of money's been pumped in. But what a vision of Ferran Soriano, whilst he was at Barcelona, no one took him seriously, was this family of football or sister clubs all around the world. And no one else has done this yet. You might have a club that, or an owner has a finger in, say, a couple of pies. Maybe I think the Watford owners, I think he's had a finger in a couple of pies. Was it RB Leipzig? Salzburg owners involved there. So you've got this, but City, it's unprecedented. It's not just buying clubs for the sake of it. Without going into all the details, but the purpose of the City Football Group is one of the purposes is to invest in other leagues, in other countries, and to expand the scouting network as well. Because you can basically, if you're buying clubs in all around the world, you can buy players and you can leave them, in that country. For the example I'll give is Aaron Moy. Man City bought, or City Football Group bought, Melbourne City FC in Australia for, I think it was £4 million or $4 million. Aaron Moy was there. And so we got him, brought him to, we didn't bring him to Manchester. We bought him from basically one club, sold him to the other, Melbourne City. And then we loaned him out to Huddersfield. Huddersfield, they got promotion while he was there. And I think they paid us something like 10 or 12 million quid for Aaron Moy. So City made a huge profit. So that's one way they can do it. Another way is buy lots. City do buy lots of youngsters, and we can fan them out to some of our sister clubs, some of the clubs that are owned, and other clubs we have a strategic involvement with. And now this is going to be very difficult to tell you all the clubs, but we've got New York City FC in America playing the MLS. As I just mentioned, Melbourne City FC. We got Mumbai City FC. And some of these clubs we own outright, and some we've got an investment in. We've got an investment in Yokohama Marinos in Japan, and it used to be called Club Atlético Talk in Uruguay, but they've changed the name. So there's just so many clubs that we're involved in. As I said, it's hard to remember them all, but we've got. It's still called, I think it's called, is it City Atlético Talk in Uruguay? We've got Girona in Spain. We've got Sichuan Jinhua of China. I think that's everybody. It's hard to remember. As I said, we've got so many fingers in so many pies. And there's lots of reasons for this. As I said, it's not just, we can farm out players and get players, hopefully some kids cheaply before they explode in terms of prices. But there's a lot of synergies. Lots of economies of scale, because now all those clubs don't need separate scouting networks, and some of them won't have massive scouting networks anyway, because your club in Uruguay won't be interested or have a scouting network in North America. But City do. City have a scouting network all over the world, so they can actually get people and send them if they want anywhere. So City's Sky Network, they're saving money there. They're saving money left, right, and centre between them. And obviously, I talked about deals that we have, sponsorship deals with people like Nissan. I think they sponsored the whole group. Sponsorship deal with Puma, the new kit deal. That's for group wide. Mostly it's going to go to City. So there's lots of things, and it's this family of football. And as I said, we can send players off on loan to these clubs, like Girona we were doing. Looks like the one in Belgium that we've just bought. That's another one. So we can send them off there for the players to develop, because they can develop better. I think the words were, it was a link between EDS football and first team football, because there was nothing in England right now. There's nothing between EDS football under 23s and first team football. So this was a higher level of football, because we don't have a reserve league, or we don't allow, like in Spain, a second team to play all the way up to our equivalent of the Championship, La Liga B. So this is a stepping stone for these players. It gives them an extra boost in their development. So it's helping to develop them, and then we can decide, do we bring them back, or do we sell them on, or what do we do with them? So the long-term strategy is simple. One of it is you're buying these clubs, and in the long term, they're going to hopefully increase in value. Look at that one deal I talked about, the Australian one, where if my numbers were right, £4 million to buy the club, and then one of the players we sold on for at least 10 or 12 million pounds. We made our money just in that one deal. And then we're obviously developing the brand as well. So you're going to have people in Australia who were previously Melbourne City supporters, let's say. And now the hope is that they'll also be Man City supporters. So people in Girona might start for bigger brand. When City bought Girona, I started watching a few Girona games because City bought them. It's a City Football Group, and also we sent a few players there. So I wanted to see what was going on. Hi, Blackpool, I hope you all, mate. So I wanted to see what was going on, and so when New York City started, I watched a couple of their games. So you do get interested when Melbourne City. I mean, they had, I think the women's team was in the final of the cup over there when there was no football going on here. And that was, so you have a passing interest in what's going on in other countries and their brands. So it is developing the City brand. It's, straight away we buy a club in India, and it's developing that market, because the Indian market is going to be huge. Chinese market's huge, very, very. It's got huge potential financially. So it's not just developing and investing in there, because you can't send your team over. You buy a club there, and you're investing in the brand there, and you're also, as Pardo Oaks is saying, you develop the City brand overseas. And also you can get this, the Sheikh Mansour sold a big stake in the club. He sold to China Media Capital, so 13%, I think it was, for, I can't remember the numbers now, 200 odd million quid. And then last year they sold sold 10% of the City Football Group to Silver Lake Investments for $500 million. So he's getting a return on investment, and you're building, like we said, we're building this brand all over the world. So you're building the Manchester City brand as well as building the local brand as well. And if you want to find out more about the City Football Group, you can go and have a look on their website. It's all there for you to look at. So I'm not obviously going to go into too much of what's happened with this Lommel SK. Tell you a little bit about it. I've got a couple of stories. One I've read in The Guardian, and one was in The National, one of the Gulf newspapers. So let's look at The Guardian first. So look, Lommel SK, they're in the 2nd division. Okay, that's the 9th club in the City Football Group's portfolio, and so let's have a look what people have been saying. An investment. I think we're trying to work out who said this. They put a statement there. They don't tell you who said it. Anyway, Lommel, okay, is based in the north of Belgium, near the Dutch border. They've got a 8,000 seat stadium. Okay, I'm going to try and say this. Soeverein Stadium. Okay. I actually believe, if I'm correct, that City Football Group own that stadium already. It's an 8,000 seater. Now, The City Football Group statement cited the club's strong academy and focus on youth development. New board will include Paul Kirchhoffs, president of Lommel Not-for-Profit Foundation, from which CFG acquired the majority stake of the club. Now, Ferenc Soriano, basically City's and CFG's chief executive, said, "We are excited to welcome Lommel SK to City Football Group and to work with the fans and City to develop the club. Belgium is one of Europe's best football countries, as demonstrated by the success of the national team and development of world-class players, some of whom we know very well, like Kevin De Bruyne and Vincent Kompany. The investment is part of our long-term strategy to be present in key football countries, play beautiful football and develop talent. We were attracted to Lommel's culture, training facilities and commitment to youth development, and we look forward to learning from their approach and helping the club to evolve in the months and years ahead." So what's Blackpool Blu-ray saying? Melbourne City fans and New York City fans pretty indifferent to Man City, if I'm honest. It will take time. No, it'll definitely take time. And I don't think they're going to win them over overnight. You're not going to win these fans over overnight. It's going to take time. But it's part of building the local brand and the international brand, as well as City Football Group, developing talent and investing in leagues that are going somewhere. Where let's be honest, there's money to be made. There's definitely money to be made. Would, for instance, in the sponsorship, would Puma have paid 65 million pounds a year if it was just City? As soon as it got into City, apart from the MLS, which is MLS in New York City are in the MLS and they have their own deal. MLS as a league had to deal with Adidas. I think all of the clubs went to Puma. So immediately that Puma get involved with City, they're in Uruguay, they're in Japan, they're in Australia, they're in Girona, now they're going to be in Lommel SK probably as well. They're in wherever City are, Puma are there. Same with, I think, the Nissan deal as well. So let's have a quick look at what was in the National, which is the first paper I looked at. So let me just have a quick look if there's anything extra to add. Basically, look, everybody's going to give the same sort of story. I mean, they're talking about the Chinese conglomerate CMC, that's Chinese Media Capital, has 12%, and the American equity giant Silver Lake has 10%. So, what did Paul Kirchhoff say? He's going to be who will chair the club's new board, and he was the chief executive, I think, of the Not-for-Profit Foundation. He said, "We are delighted that City Football Group has chosen to acquire Lommel and ensure the future of our club. We are extremely impressed with their philosophy, track record and approach, and look forward to working together to take the club forward." Lommel Mayor Bob Niels added, "Lommel SK is an incredibly important part of our community. In City Football Group, we have an ambitious, stable and reliable partner which is committed to developing young players and will help the club to grow and succeed in the future. It is excellent news for the club and for the city." Now, I do remember that Lommel had been in the news for possibly up to a couple of years, where there were links, and we all knew that City are still looking at buying clubs in other countries, and there was rumours about potentially City trying to take over RSC Anderlecht, where Vincent Kompany's player manager, partly because Vincent Kompany's there. But I think this is great for Lommel. It's probably, you'd expect them to be challenging to get promotion. You would expect in the next 2 or 3 seasons to get promotion, and then challenge a bit better in the league. Now, we've seen with Girona, they got promoted and they're being relegated. It's not always. And at NEC Breda, who City had a link with, but we weren't. They're in Holland, but we were sending 4 or 5 kids a season over there, but we didn't have an investment there. They got relegated as well. So I think also is to get as many clubs as you can in the top divisions in their country, because that's better than playing in the EDS. I think that there's no question about that. Blackpool Blue remembers City have a fantastic training complex built for them, probably the best in Australia, which should attract players. Absolutely. And I think that's another thing. So you'd hope the best of the local talent, because now they've got the finances in Melbourne, and Lommel might have a bit more money. They'll attract better sponsors and stuff. Hi, Catherine, hope you're well. So I think all in all, it's just another one, another finger in another pie. How many other pies are there out there that are big pies. I mean, you've got Germany. I can't see that coming off easily, but Germany and Italy, it can happen. And France, I mean, you go around European clubs and there's plenty of opportunity. Brazil, Argentina. I think the thing is, for most of these, I suspect we're not paying big money. We're not paying big. I don't think Girona would have cost us a lot. Melbourne City didn't cost us a lot. Club Atletico Torque didn't cost us a lot. And I don't think these will too. I think the biggest ones would have been the New York City FC, which we started from scratch, which I think was a couple of $100 million to start with. So they're not massive investments. So it could be City go into some other countries like Italy and Germany and start with somebody in the third tier or second tier. That's going cheap, basically, and looks like a good deal. Abhishek, hey, how you doing, buddy? I hope you're well. So to finish off, I'm not going to do a massive long stream. We're going to talk about the Premier League meeting today and the discussions, and this is just to finish off with, and the discussions about a restart on the 1st of June-ish. I think the government, there's so much stuff coming out, and they've got a massive document. I'm not going to bore myself by going through it all, but I think they said no top high-level sport till at least the 1st of June. Look, we've talked about this many times. It's all up in the air because, we're going to have to see what happens in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Well, next 3 weeks with cases, whether there is by that stage, by the end of the month, we should know whether there's an uptick in cases because of people going back to work and less social distancing, just because people feel like it's the lockdown's over. And so we'll find out anyway. Now, I think the FA said positions have to be decided upon by sporting merit, so they don't want no relegation. They don't want things just to be given away. So that doesn't necessarily mean the season finish, but they want a sporting way to finish. If you stop it now, I just don't think that's fair. And as I said many times, if you stop it now, clubs who feel hard done by will sue. So you've got to really go for some sort of relegation promotion, and you've got to do it in such a way that it's acceptable to everybody. I put forward ways to do this, to offer all the bottom 6 clubs 50 million quid and say, we're going to have a one-off playoff game between the teams in the bottom 3 and teams above them. So that's 3 games in total. And the loser will be relegated, but we'll also give you an extra £50 million. You've got to sweeten the deal. Otherwise, what's in it for them? They'll get the parachute payments even if they stop the season right now and they relegate them. But you've got to get their agreement to this. Not so sure they'll agree, but something's going to happen. Neutral venues, I'm not keen on that. So, as I said, you've got to sweeten the deal somehow and make it worth their while. And if you can do that and have a 5th place playoff between Man United and Sheffield United, that's 4 games. I'd rather have 4 games than 92. I think 92, squeezing them in to make a bit of money now. And who knows actually when we're going to start. And then how's it going to affect next season? Because I think by the end of May next season, we have to finish the league. We have to, because there's going to be the Euros and that's going to take precedent. That's what it feels like. It's going to take precedent. So there's a lot more to go on. We just got to find out when football can start again. We're not going to really know. The Premier League, they're going to have a meeting every week now, I think, trying to work something out. But I find it very difficult for it to continue in any decent format because it's just been messed around with too much. And I think at some point they have to find either a weighted points per game, weighted average points per game to decide who goes down and where everybody finishes in the league. I think most teams won't be affected. And then they've also got to find a way to placate those bottom teams and allow teams from the like Leeds and West Brom and whoever deserves to come up from the Championship, however they sort it out, then they need to find a way to get them in. Let's look at your comments. Ishak's asking about the French club. It's a Belgian club, Lommel SK. I have talked about it already for the first 15 or so minutes. So if you want to go back, you can check that out, Ishak. Chris, I just find it impossible to come back at the moment. All it takes one person. Well, people have apparently got it. The Brighton players say they got 3 of them have got it. It's not over by a long shot, And I think so. I think for me, I'm just keeping my powder dry, just waiting to see what happens in the next 3 weeks. If there's a spike, maybe they have to go to lockdown again and harder. Maybe they won't bother. I honestly don't know. The games are going to be behind closed doors. That's going to annoy a lot of people. The clubs know now pretty much that the games are going to be behind the closed doors. And I think at some point, it would be nice to have our season tickets refunded for those. I mean, for us, it's 10 games out of 9. How many games are we missing at home? 5, I think, out of 19. So it's a quarter of our season ticket. It'd be nice to have that money back. It'd be nice to have the money for the Real Madrid game back if we don't have that. Yeah, it's going to go on for ages, Chris. Until it starts, it's going to go on for ages. And lots of things can scupper it. We've seen the opening and release of some lockdown restrictions. I think not a lot of them, but in Spain, in Italy, in Germany. And we've seen an uptick in cases in each of those countries, I do believe, looking over the last few days. I looked a couple of days ago, and it is ticking up. So there is a concern that this, it's going to go on a lot longer, like Chris says, a lot longer than we think. And I mean, I don't honestly see it starting on the 1st of June or around that date. You've got to give clubs, I think, at least 4 weeks to train. That gets us to the middle of June. You've got to give them 4 weeks to train. And clubs are going to start off, if they do start off, they're going to be cold. They've had no pre-season. They're just going to start off cold, which is going to be very, very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for fans. I mean, look, what do I expect? I expect 80, at least 80% of fans will watch it on the telly. I honestly expect that. You'll get some fans, who say it's distasteful. I don't want to be involved. I'm not interested anymore, and they won't watch it, and will walk away from top flight football. But I still think 80, 90% of people will watch it on the TV. Do I think things will get better or worse? In what way, Faris? It's hard to say what's going to happen. Let's talk a little bit of coronavirus, COVID-19. We don't know what it's because we haven't tested enough people. And they talk about the R number. Now, basically, I'm not going to go into all the science or the maths of it. What's going to happen is, as long as the R is above 1, the virus will keep on spreading in the population. Okay, so if you've got 100 people have got it now, if it's 1.1, they'll pass it on to 110. Okay, but if it's 0.7, those 100 will pass it on to only 70, and then those 70 will pass. If it's still 0.7, we'll pass it on to 49, and it'll pass on to fewer and fewer people. But I think Germany have said their R number was it 0.7 or something, or 0.78. Now it's above. They think it's above 1, which means the virus is spreading again. So countries are going to ease lockdown restrictions, Faris, and you just got to see what happens. New Zealand, I listened to their was it Prime Minister? I can't remember her first name. Ahern. I can't remember. Sorry, guys. Her full name. I can describe it to you, but I can't remember her name. But I will try and remember. I'll tell you what it is. Jacinda. That's it. Jacinda Ardern. Jacinda Ardern. Ahern was it Bertie Ahern? Guy from Republic of Ireland a few years ago. But anyway, Jacinda Ardern. She said they're going to start releasing. They're going to start releasing the restrictions, easing them, but they're still. I mean, she's doing it in a jokey way, and I think the country appreciate it, because she said we went at this early and we did it hard, and now we're one of the first countries that are opening up again, and they're opening up in a decent way. A lot of businesses can start again. People can go and meet their family and friends, and she still says, not in groups of more than 10, because I think the way to look at it is, if you suddenly have everything back as normal, and and someone's got it and they pass it on, they can, once again, it could be a big spike. Whereas if you're meeting just in groups of 5 or 6, or just family and friends, and it's not a big gathering, then if someone's got it and it ends up being passed around, hopefully it won't be passed around. It'll just be a small cluster rather than a big cluster. Okay, I think that's the reasoning. So we'll see what happens there in a country that's almost got rid of it. For I'm going to pull up I'm going to try and find it. I mean, they've got so few cases. I look at this Worldometer's website, and they've got so few cases there. It's actually hard to find it. So because it's so far down the list. Actually, I can do a search for it. I think that's what I'll do, because it's so far down the list that New Zealand. So they've got 3 new cases in the last 24 hours, apparently. 21 deaths, 3 new cases. Yes, it's only a population of about 5 million people. Sounds right, 5 million people. So it's, you know, it's a small population size, but they've only got 3 new cases. Okay, which is, you know, so basically, when you've only got a few new cases, then you can do your testing, track and trace, put people in isolation. And you've got some countries that apparently, was it South Korea or Singapore? Somebody told me this, and they said you would get, if you were being isolated, you know, you'd get someone to a caseworker basically. They'd contact you, and sometimes they'd contact you a lot. And I think someone said within, you know, someone said his wife was contacted 39 times in a few hours or something. And I think someone else said, you know, they give you masks. So they give you masks if you test positive and you're in isolation. They'll give you masks. I mean, you've got to stay at home and everything, but they give some countries are giving their population masks. I think Spain were doing that. And some places, I think if you're in self-isolation, they even give you boxes of food. They'll give you food parcels. So, you know, some countries are doing a lot more than we are, which is a disappointment. UK, new cases, almost 4,000. Look at Spain. Spain's new cases, almost, it's 3,500. So there is an uptick in Spain. Now, you know, there might have just been a few days when it was lower because of bank holidays and tests. I don't know. But it just looks like the Spain one is picking up. So, you know, obviously that's got to be a concern. So that's my feeling. Obviously, I'm worried. You know, I'm concerned that the cases might pick up here as well. All right, Catherine, nice to have you on board. So that's my concern. The cases may pick up. That's going to put, it could easily put kibosh on the restart, you know, idea of the Premier League. We'll see what happens. You know, it's going to, I think what happens in the next 3 or 4 weeks, if there's an upturn here, that's going to determine it. If there's an upturn in other countries, you know, Germany's got a problem. You know, they're still aiming to start this weekend, I think, but, you know, Anna was over 1 and a few players have got it. So that's going to be an problem. Well, I'm about to go, Catherine. I'm about to go, back to finish because, you know, it's 6 o'clock and my lad's going to do some harp for me. Just got him a music stand because he's never had a music stand. I think the other lad, he plays the piano, and obviously you've got that board there and you can put your music there. But the little one, he's never had his own music stand for his sheet music. So I just got him one of them, and I'm going to go down and listen to him for about 15 or 20 minutes playing the harp. He had a class on Saturday, so it's important to play a few minutes every day, especially just after your class, so that you remember, you know, you practice what you've done and you remember more of what you did with the teacher. Guys, I'm going to shoot. But if you're new to the channel, it'd be great if you can subscribe, hit that bell icon so you're notified as soon as new videos come out. And if you want to know more about Lommel SK and the City Football Group and stuff, you can watch the video again. And if you want, you can go and look at some of the other videos I've done on City Football Group in the last year or two. And you can go and check their website. There's you know, a fair bit of information there. To be honest, a lot of it's it's a bit boring. But if you are interested in that kind of stuff, you can go and check it out. Thanks everybody for coming on board, and we'll see you tomorrow. Got to say before I go, got to say this. Got Bernard on tomorrow night, so hopefully 9 o'clock. We've got Bernard Deneen, big time City fan, going all the way back to the 60s. I'm trying to think. Did he go back to the 50s? I'll have to ask him. I don't think he goes that far back, but he goes certainly back to the 60s. So hopefully, I've got him booked in for tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So it should be a good chat. We're going to talk a little bit about last season, because tomorrow is the anniversary of winning the league last season against when we beat Brighton 4-1 at their place. And then we're going to look to the future. You know, what's football going to be like? So that, I think, was going to be an interesting thing. 9 o'clock tomorrow. That's what it's scheduled for. Please join us if you can. Ciao.